Alright, so you can hear all the hubbub in the background. It's getting a little busy. Once again, let me know if you can hear us clearly, if you need a little bit more volume and whatnot, and we are going to get this underway in just a moment. The Gameclucks matches have started here down in Linwood in the state of Washington. If you're in the area, definitely come down and check us out. We're just moving through the round robins of the bronze and silver. There's the Gold League tournament and the Platinum and Diamond. And we're just going to take a look at some of the matches here. The Masters League players, the Masters and Grandmasters players, will be starting their bracket later in the day at 5 p.m. PST. Definitely tune into that for some good StarCraft 2 action here in Washington. Additionally, please do take note that NOS Energy Drink is a sponsor of this event. We'd love if you guys go check them out. And also California Burger. If you're down here at the event, next door, California Burger giving you a burger and a free soda for just $5. So if you're looking to eat some food, that's the place definitely to check out. And Douglas, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
And there's a lot of extra noise, but that's okay. And I'm gonna ask if these players are ready. And we're about to jump into the first game. These two players are in the Bronze and Silver League division. And let's go ahead and get this game started. The countdown has started for the first match that we're going to be broadcasting here on the live stream. Hope you guys are all doing well at home, watching on the internet, or maybe if you're here at the event. And I hope these two players aren't tuning on the streams on their own computers, because that would be actually just terrible play. But we do have Hadoken versus Tera Babcock, a Protoss versus Terran matchup on MLG Daybreak. The format of this match will be a best of 3, and I don't know much about these two players in terms of their StarCraft 2 skills here, Douglas. I'm not sure if you are familiar with them.
Not at all, but you know, I think we're going to see some interesting stuff coming out of these lower leaguers. They're always the most creative of StarCraft players.
That is definitely true. They also sometimes tend to be very passive. And you know, and that's usually the first thing that players who move out of the Bronze and Silver League realize, is that they need to be a little more aggressive. And so let's see how these two players end up playing their game here. I'm interested to see what strategies they utilize. As you said, they end up being very creative in terms of the kinds of strategies they want to use and what units they want to use and how they apply them. So here on the top right of Daybreak, we do have the pink Terran player, will be known henceforth as Tera. And on the bottom left, we do have the red Protoss player, who is Hadoken. And so far, very standard. No cheese going on, no proxy buildings just yet. Don't see a probe moving across the map to do some kind of cannon rush or proxy zealot rush here. So I mean, PvT is a matchup that I really like to watch personally, just because it's so interesting to see the timings that the Terrans get and how the Protoss decides to fend them off and make it to the late game, which is where the Protoss is really strong. I'm not sure, do you have any thoughts on this matchup, Douglas?
You know, the only thing I'm looking forward to this point is if I get to see battle cruisers or carriers. That's the one thing I'm
Most certainly, that would be awesome. By the way, because I am rude and I forgot, with me I have casting is Douglas Purcell, Salgood, part of the UW StarCraft Club. I myself am Arthur Mr. Z Ming, also from the UW StarCraft Club, bringing you some casting at the Gameclucks event here in Washington, and it is a pleasure to be here. How are you doing today, Douglas?
I'm doing great.
Good, excellent. Excited to watch some PvT, and as you said, you know, I'm kind of interested to see, you know, if one of these players is going to go for carriers or battle cruisers. That would certainly cause for a really exciting game, and you know, bronze players are not beyond that. You know, definitely they would like to go for that.
Well, you know, the thing about carriers or a battle cruiser, you typically need gas for it, but we're not seeing any gas from Tera just yet.
Sure, yeah, it looks like she's for now, staying on a gasless build, and possibly a gasless expand. We do have one of Tera's SUVs hunting in the natural expansion of Hadoken just at this moment, and she could be considering placing down a barracks there, but it's starting to become a little late for any kind of proxy cheese. But this is the Bronze and Silver League. Anything can happen, so I don't really want to make any decisive calls just yet. The orbital command now finishing for Tera, and good timing on that meal. It's really important to keep up with your multitasking, with your micromanagement, and especially keeping up with your macro. And I'm really glad to see that Tera has that timing down on that orbital command. We can see here on Hadoken's side, he has a lot of extra chrono boost saved up, so I would say Tera is in a little bit of a lead right now.
Definitely so, especially if she ends up taking that expansion at this point. But with the choice of the Robotech here, we're going to see moving quickly up the tree.
Yup, and it looks like the Terran is going to opt for a gasless expand, a very useful build, proven to be very strong, very effective against Protoss players, and I really am glad to see that Tera is opting to go for a 2-base play, because that's usually demonstrative of a stronger build, of a stronger strategy, and that's what's going to win you games in StarCraft 2, is going for those good, smart plays. I'm glad to see that Tera's opting to go for the longer game.
So let's talk a little bit about Hadoken's choices at this point. He's obviously going to have an observer coming out of this robotics bay first. Once he sees the expansion, what do you think we're going to see at that point?
Because he's committed so far into this 3-gate robo, I mean, he hasn't even followed Tera's expansion just yet, it looks like Hadoken's set to stay on one base for a while, and that means that he needs to find a timing where he can do a lot of damage at this point. Whether that be an immortal timing, which is probably the most likely, or just using that observer to give high ground sight and maybe looking to get a Twilight Council to do a blink timing, I'm not sure. At this point, Hadoken hasn't added on a Twilight Council, so that seems unlikely. But so I would definitely go for an immortal timing, maybe use a little bit of that Warp Prism. But we'll have to see. I mean, this is going to come down to control. Oh my god, and Tera is being really smart right now, putting down 2 bunkers, and I really like that play. Just be safe. You can salvage the bunkers afterwards, but definitely, I think this is a good response to what Hadoken is doing. Because he's staying on one base and you've expanded, you really just want to make sure you don't die to a timing push, because if Tera survives that timing push while maintaining her economy and having a good amount of units left after defending the push, she's going to be pretty much set to win the game.
Oh no, this is interesting because we have a preemptive robotics bay going down, so we're going to see some fast Colossus coming out. I don't think we're going to see an expansion out of Hadoken anytime soon.
Yeah, and this is a big expenditure in terms of resources. It's going to take a lot. Hadoken, if he does want to expand while doing this build, he's going to need to cut a lot of units, maybe cut gateway production, and definitely cut the probes. It looks like he's not even caring to make any more probes, and this is what I mean by keeping up with your multitask. So far, Tera seems like she has a really strong strategy, and it looks like Hadoken is going to go for that expansion, and this is actually a large tax on your resources at this point. You cannot actually support doing this much this quick, and it could be a really dangerous situation for Hadoken in just a bit, because when Tera's economy kicks in, if she macros well and keeps her barracks working, she's going to have enough units to just go to the front door of Hadoken and knock it down. But the Colossus is really what we're going to be watching out for. That thermal lance upgrade not quite started yet. That does increase the range of the Colossus, and those are the key units in this matchup right now. That's what Hadoken has chosen to be his edge, I would say.
You know, it's always hard for me to look at these games and kind of predict what exactly it is that's happening, but we are seeing a proxy pylon going down by Hadoken, so we're probably going to see some pressure with this first Colossus.
And I really like that proxy pylon, just giving the Protoss more options in terms of mobility. Having that pylon there means that when the Terran player moves out, you can go in for a backstab, and that's going to be something that Hadoken needs in his bag right now, because he's taken such a risky build. He's teched up really fast, he's spent money on that expansion, and he has barely an army right now, but now he's getting that Colossus out. He has a few stalkers situated. He needs a little more time to gain his edge over Tera at this point, and having the option to backstab your opponent is what is going to buy you a lot of time here in this match. So I think that's a really good move by Hadoken.
Yeah. And Tera, now spotting the Colossus, knows exactly what's up, so we're going to see what exactly response she goes for.
And it looks like indeed frying that Marine to pieces as he falls over in red flames, and that Colossus does feel triumphant with his single kill. Many more to come in the future, it hopes, but still, like you said, that thermal lance not upgraded just yet, and that is actually a really key upgrade. Having that thermal lance means your Colossus can stay safe for the most part against the Marauders, against the Marines, keep a safe distance away from the Terran army. But it looks like that upgrade not even on the way, and if Tera goes for a timing push, this could be a lot of trouble. And earlier on in the cast, Algon, I said that a lot of times bronze and silver players will be a little more passive, and that's what really gets to them. And right now, Tera is letting Hadoken get away with so much in terms of tech and economy.
So let's talk a little bit about this immediate text, which we're looking at 3 Stargates going down.
Yep.
Starport, sorry.
The triple starport, and that might be for Vikings. I mean, she did see the Colossus. This is a very drastic shift of attention here.
But it's not quite going to be in time with Hadoken moving out just now.
Yep. And I'm really kind of worried for Hadoken's army right now. He has a single Colossus, but he's had that Robo up for so long. His Gateway army isn't that much bigger since he expanded either. And I'm kind of wondering about his macro right now. He's warping in more units at the forward pylon, and you can see that use of that forward pylon coming into play here. I'm worried because he has a large composition of Stalkers which crumble to Marauders, and additionally with that Colossus without Thermal Lance, the Marauders are doubly effective here. So maybe Tera's army is going to be highly cost-effective in this trade. The Marauders do have Stim, and it looks like Tera has Siege Tank upgrade on the way, but I don't see any Siege Tanks on the field. Now the Protoss player just laying siege to Tera's base, moving up the natural ramp here, taking down the destructible rocks, and I'm really curious how this confrontation is going to play out.
I really think, well, we're seeing tech labs on all of those starports. If we're about to see battlecruisers, my day is made.
Certainly, let's hope that Tera can survive until that point in time. And it looks like the Protoss player is just going to hang around for a while. And I really think the Protoss is in somewhat of an advantage right now. His sentries have energy for force field. He has the Colossus out. And even though he does not quite have Thermal Lance, I think the strength of his composition is just a little giving him a little bit of the favor here. 93 food for Tera, 98 for Hadoken, and it's kind of a icky situation right now. I really think that Hadoken should have gotten that Thermal Lance upgrade a little earlier, but it might not be wrong for him to push in at this point in time.
Yeah, well, we're seeing how it goes as we walk up the ramp.
And here comes Hadoken's army, the first engagement of the match. It looks like the Stalkers were going to auto-fire the missile turret, and this is some really bad AI for Hadoken right now. I'm not sure about this angle he's engaging in, but it looks like he's going to go for it. Here comes the Stim. The Marines and Marauders moving in. Nice force fields. And it looks like one of the Colossus does fall. And he's going to keep on pressing his advantage or not. He's looking to retreat. A lot of energy spent on those sentries, but for good purposes. A lot of the army of Tera has been weakened here, softening up the numbers, softening up the Marauders here. And another attempt at an attack. A little bit of a miss, Micro. That Colossus very far in front, losing a lot of Stalkers. You can see just how effective those Marauders are. And it looks like no Guardian Shield in place right now. And Hadoken's losing a lot of health on his armies. On his army, he's not attack moving, and another Colossus will fall, and this is just the reason why you need that Thermal Lance upgrade right now.
Let's talk a little bit too. Now we have these Banshees out with Cloak. We're going to see another 3 on the way. So at this point, I think Hadoken absolutely needs his server out in the field, or he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yep, and one thing to note is Tera, the Marauders for Tera are being so cost-effective, doing so well. However, she's using a lot of Stim on them, and every time you use Stim packs, your units lose a bit of health. You can see all these Marauders are really low health. She does not have any medevacs right now, and just as I say that, a medevac starts being constructed here, and that's really what Tera needs. She needs to upkeep the health on her bio units right now, because the more they fight, the less health they're going to have, and then eventually the Colossus with one sweep will kill the rest of those Marauders easily, and that's going to be the really big turning point for Tera right now. And it looks like Hadoken's going to be moving in again.
Oh, he really, really wants to take down that missile turret.
And I'm not quite sure why. It doesn't look like he has any air units or any cloaked units there to push into Tera's base, but it looks like he's going to continue engaging, and 4 Marauders against this group of Stalkers is not going to be a fair fight for the Marauders, and that's a lot of free units for Hadoken, but still he is behind in food by about 40 right now. 64 supply for Hadoken, the red Protoss player, and Tera is up to 108 so far trading.
The Banshees are coming into the main and the bottom.
Yup, at the bottom base, it looks like they're going to opt to harass the gateway, but I really think going for economy is what's going to be important for Tera right now. Some free Marauders coming in the back, getting sniped by those Stalkers here, and Tera is going to be able to take down one of the gateways here, just leaving it at really low health, and that is a big blunder right now.
It's really important to get inside your opponent's head, and I think that's really what she's going for by letting him live.
And really commit so much time to getting the gateway. If you're going to do that, just finish it off, because right now the gateway, even though it is at such low health, it is operating at maximum capacity. It is doing just as well as any full health gateway, and so that is a huge loss of time. But it looks like Tera is still going to be doing a lot of damage with those Banshees regardless, and here comes a front push by Hadoken. And the Colossus is doing so much damage. Now that the Thermal Lance upgrade is finished, you can see how much more effective it is. It is really safe and a good concave for Hadoken. But here comes the SCVs and Marauders. The Marauders trying to target fire down the Colossus, and it will eventually fall, but at what cost? A lot of the Marauders of Tera have been taken down, and one more bunker remains. The SCVs go to work repairing that bunker, and two more Stalkers for Hadoken look like they will be picked off by the Stim Marauders, and finally Medivacs out here healing the health of the bio units of Tera, and right now Hadoken just looks defeated. The Banshees have taken down the natural expansion of Hadoken and continue to do a lot of damage to the Stalkers here of Hadoken.
We're also seeing a solo Colossus in the middle of the field, kind of left behind for the party, and we're looking at a 53-4 Harvester count in Tera's favor.
Yep, definitely Tera, with some multi-pronged harass, looks to take this game in strong fashion. Hadoken definitely had an opportunity to take the game away from Tera, but a little bit of a misstep in terms of the execution of his timing push, a little bit of micro mistake, and did not upgrade that Thermal Lance, and I think that's really the key factors in this game costing him the victory here.
Well, you know what? Hadoken knows the meaning of never give up, never surrender, because he is definitely not going out without a fight.
Yep, now continuing to create some workers. He's up to 6 Harvesters now. He has a single Colossus out on the field and a bunch of Stalkers, and really against Terran, you want the Zealots. That's going to be what's going to be, that's really the strong unit in the PvT matchup, is those Zealots. Stalkers in the back, just a few to take down Medivacs or Banshees of any sort. And
the last push here, I think this is going to be the last remaining of Hadoken's forces.
And it looks like Tera comes out very far ahead. GG is called by Hadoken, and Tera will take the first game. It is a best of 3. The first map was Daybreak that we just saw. Loser gets to pick the next map, so we're going to go find out what map Hadoken wants to play on and fly into the second match in this best of 3 series. And right now, I really feel like Tera has the upper hand here. I mean, she played a solid strategy. She had some good ideas, went for that multi-pronged harass, and didn't even really need to attack Hadoken in that game.
No, she was the Ross with the water crashing on them. There was just no moving out of her forces. She did a really good job of turtling up and maintaining her Harvester and Army lead.
Yep, just playing that long game, playing the macro game, knowing that, you know, if I stick with it, if I keep up with my multitasking and my macro, I'm going to come out ahead, and that's exactly what happened that game. Tera just held strong with her strategy, went for the 2 bases, kept on buffering her economy, adding on production facilities, getting that triple starport to make 3 Banshees, and then transitioned into Medivacs. Solid play by Tera, ending up taking the victory over Hadoken. And we can't have a mirror map. I think Hadoken wants Daybreak again, but we already played that, so. Oh, if the stream is lagging, like in a sense of like frame rate lag or stream lag?
It's not something that we work and Skype.
Skype is laggy too. Okay. Well, let's see. 25 is good. Let's see here what the bitrate is. Alright, so we'll be right back with the second match here. Just give us a second. We're gonna adjust some settings for the stream. See if we can get that stream a little less laggy for you. I see a lot of drop frames, so just sit tight, and we'll be right back. Alright, so we are back. And I'm just taking a look here at the frames, and we haven't dropped any quite yet. It's looking a lot better. I'm just taking a look here at the frames. Oh my god, mute that. Alright, and I think that should be... Alright, it's only when the game begins. So when I host that game, I'll check up on the XSplit, see how many frames are being dropped, and see if that fixes it. It should be a lot better right now. I lowered the bit rate, lowered a bit of the frame rate. The quality shouldn't be too much different, but it should be a lot smoother. So we'll be flying into the second map, which has been decided that it will be GSL Cloud Kingdom. And it would be nice if the search function of this BattleNet.
No, that's too convenient. We have to make it as complicated as possible.
Oh god, I know. Alright. Oh god.
Now, is there any difference between GSL and ladder besides the depot at the ramp?
I have no clue.
I don't think so.
And if you get... Oh, okay, Sivo, sorry. Oh no, hold on. It's not here. DreamHack GSL Daybreak, DreamHack ESV, GSL Crossfire. If you could find the map, more power to you.
Okay, I'll see what I can find. Cloud Kingdom, you said?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a GSL one. Let me see if there's an MLG. Got it.
Alright, host it and invite me in, and we will, accept startups. The frames won't drop during a still screen. Alright, so that probably has to do with the encoder.
So let's talk a little bit about that previous game. We saw a totally preemptive going for Colossus. This is making me think that Hadoken just favors that kind of ground-heavy army of it's Colossus heavy. So do you think we're going to see a little bit of that again this game?
I think so. You know, typically players have one strategy that they're comfortable with, that they stick to, that they play, that they know they play well. Right now, the issue for Hadoken is, does he recognize that, does he feel that he can do that build better and that he only lost because he messed up? Or does he feel that he needs a new strategy to defeat Tera right now? That's going to be the big question for Hadoken. Is he brave enough to stick with his guns, or is he going to, you know, maybe look to a different strategy and see if that works better? Well, that's kind of like the interesting thing about best of threes, is you have these choices you got to make, and that's the mind game that you have to play.
Alright, so here we go into game 2 with Tara up 1-0.
Excuse me. And the countdown has started. As Douglas said, Tera is up 1-0. This is a best of 3, and we are playing round robins right now. And I'm actually not sure, Douglas, do you know if the brackets are up for viewing? I think they will be on the Facebook page or on the website for Gameclucks, which is www.gameclucks.com.
Yeah, we're going to see the brackets go up on challenge shortly. Right now we're looking at round robin pool play, so it's only up on a whiteboard here. So
sure.
We'll be seeing the brackets go up soon.
Sure. So up here on the top right of the map, we do have Hadoken as the pink Protoss, and at the bottom left we have Tera, the blue Terran player here.
So now the real question I think we have this morning is, are we going to see another one rack expand?
Yeah, and I think Tera handled that gasless expand really well. She played out the strategy solidly. She knew what she had to do. She just turtled up, let her economy kick in, and then destroy the army of Hadoken with that advantage. And of course, Hadoken, not necessarily taking the most optimal build, he got Colossus, and then he went for the expansion, wasted a lot of time, not really the most efficient way to tech up to Colossus, was behind economically, and lost a lot of workers due to that multi-pronged harass from Tera, and ended up falling apart. So I think right now Tera just has a lot more solid of a multitasking skill set here, and that's really what's going to make the difference between Tera and Hadoken, is just the ability to keep up with your worker count, to keep up with the economy, and keep your supply high.
Indeed. So I'm really curious, because, you know, in these lower leagues, I've always been a proponent that anything can happen. There's no such thing as leaving out until there's no harvesters left on the field. So anything can happen. I'm excited to see what happens this game.
Yeah, and definitely Hadoken seems like a player who sticks in it for a long time. He was almost down to no workers, lost his natural expansion, but he was still trying to stick it, just like hang on tight and really just keep himself in the game there, even though the situation is looking really dire. But that's the kind of mental attitude you need to really take the games that you think you would lose and never could have even imagined coming back from, but end up doing that super comeback.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Dragon came back from, what was it, 8 food?
8 food.
And that can happen at the pro level. It can definitely happen down here in lower levels.
It definitely did, and Hadoken right now has a lot of extra energy on his Nexus, a ton of Chrono Boost able to be used there, but he's not willing to spend it. And that, I have to say, is quite a big misstep. That's
You know, it could be, or it could be seeing some sort of 4-gate play here.
That's true, but we see he just got that second gas, so that's going to make that 4 gate slightly less effective. But, as you said, anything can happen. Let's see, here the Cybercore finishes, and a Chrono Boost does go on that Cybercore. But a Robo, looks like he's doing the exact same build as he did previously, and Tera looks like she's doing the same. But she's going to get a single gas after the expansion, and this is really curious. Maybe she's looking to get that tech lab early on the barracks, maybe looking to get some early upgrades. We'll have to see. Tera once again with that SCV just chilling at the side of his opponent's natural.
Yeah, and there are so many options for with that gas. She can easily go for the factory into and then into the starport, or she can go into Hellions. I mean, there's so many options she has with that gas.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing a double gas go down, so...
Man, and I really like how Tera has these this group of 3 Marines just patrolling all over the map, and that is some really good presence of mind for Tera. You know, a lot of newer players don't really scout very diligently, but Tera seems like she has at least the outside premises of her base scouted out, and that's a really good mindset to have. You always want to make sure you're safe. You want to make sure you know exactly what's going on. Of course, Hadoken not doing anything cheesy just yet, but in that case that he was, Tera would have spotted that and would have probably been able to win the game, and so that's some very good play.
We're seeing the robotics bay come down again, so we're going to see the Colossus once more. Are we going to see the Nexus come down after this one, is my question.
Yeah, and I really think that was a big mistake for Hadoken, at least because he started being aggressive even after he put down that Nexus. If you're going to be aggressive, you want to save those resources for attacking units, because at this point you're already committed to having to do damage to your opponent anyways. If you expand, you're going to be behind, and...
Already.
and I'm...
But hang on just a second while we try to figure out what happened.
And maybe he got dropped? Either way, I'm going to go ahead and look. It looks like we don't have any drop frames. So far, the lag seems to have been fixing itself just a bit, but we didn't have any confrontation. Let's just hope that the engagement doesn't slow down the stream too much. As Salgud said, we're going to find out what exactly happened, but until then, sit tight.
Alright, looks like we're having some computer issues, but we're getting those resolved and we'll be restarting the game. I don't think it's unfair to say that they were in the same position, so doing a regame is well within order.
I would say do a regame, so let's go ahead and rehost that map. Since you were so skilled at finding it, why don't you pull it up again, get these players back into the match, and start up the cast. Get this show on the road, there we go.
We're just waiting for him to log back on now. He's restarting.
Sure.
Well, you know, it's interesting. We were seeing basically a mirror of Game 1 and Game 2. But, you know, the real thing is I think Tera opted to not go Vikings or Medevacs so much. She skipped and went straight to Banshees.
Yeah, risky play, definitely risky. But the one thing about Hadoken was his macro with his Robo facility was really, really poor. I mean, he could have had maybe 2 or 3 Colossus by that time, but he only had a single one. On top of that, he didn't even have Thermal Lens when he went for that initial push. And I think that's what really put him really far behind. I mean, the Colossus were constantly in danger of the target fire from the Marauders, and Tera most certainly, very obviously went to target fire the Colossus. I mean, she controlled her units very well and aimed for the Colossus that were exposed, and that really did a lot of damage to the strength of Hadoken's push.
And this can be interesting because if I was in the position of Hadoken, I'd probably hang back a little bit further. Wait till I can get a better critical mass of Colossus and Stalkers. But we'll see what happens in this next game.
Yep, yep. And I definitely think the Colossus build is strong against Terran players. It is really strong. One base Colossus is a bit shaky, but at this level, if you can execute it well, it can do a lot of damage, and you could already see the strength of, despite the fact that Tera had such a huge economic lead, you could see how much damage those Colossus were doing. Just a little bit of mismarker on the fact that Thermal Lance was done changed the tide of the fight there for Hadoken, causing him to lose it.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
And we are still waiting for Hadoken to log in here. Looks like he has reconnected. Constantly going back to check the stream to see if there are any drop frames. It looks like it's doing a lot better right now. Just again to mention the sponsors for the Gameclucks event down here in Seattle. We are in Linwood at the new location for Gameclucks. NOS Energy Drinks, very generous to sponsor us. Unfortunately, we do not have NOS Energy Drink girls here with us. They are doing another event. You will have to receive your NOS drinks from Chris Henderson himself. But that is that's not a disappointment because Chris Henderson is the man.
The thing is, for all people in the Seattle and greater outskirts of Seattle area, this is a really great tournament to stop by. I mean, for those that have never competed in any sort of tournament environment, this is a great way to get involved into it. There's cash prizes for lower leagues, and there's lots of people here who are going to be all throughout the skill ranges. So, this is a place you can come to have fun while in a tournament environment.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that they have their format that allows the lower league players to play amongst each other is really good, so you don't really need to worry about having to be matched up against Mr. Grandmaster #1 Super Pro. And you can still come in, win some games, have some fun. Find some good competition. And with that, the countdown has started into the rematch of the second map between Tera and Hadoken. Tera is currently up 1-0, and so far she is looking to be the favorite to win between the two. I really think Tera is playing better than Hadoken at this point in time.
She played very strong in both these games with that opening. Be able to get a secure, great economic lead and defend it.
Yep. And so it looks like we do have an exact mirror of the last game in terms of the spawning positions. We have the pink Protoss player in the top right, that will be Hadoken, against Tera, who is the yellow Terran player at the bottom left side of the map. And let's see, they might do the exact same build once again, and I think Tera would be pretty comfortable doing that. She looked like she knew what she wanted to do. She looked like she was comfortable playing that style, and it worked out. There's no reason to change what's not broken.
I completely agree. Now the real question is, are we going to once again see that kind of 12-minute, 3-gate robo play that we saw in the first game?
Yeah, I mean, 3-gate robo. The other thing that was strange about Hadoken's play is he made so many Stalkers, and really in PvT you want more Zealots. Zealots are what really tanks the damage and really deal a lot of damage, especially combined with some force fields, some good use of those force fields. And when you support them with Colossus, it works out really nicely because the Zealots don't take any gas, and then the Colossus spend up the extra gas that you have as a result of that. And so economically, it's a lot more organized, and it makes a lot more sense to go for the Zealot Colossus mix with a few sentries thrown in there, rather than the huge Stalker force that Hadoken built up in that first game.
I agree. You want to keep some Marauders as far away from your armored units as possible.
It looks like a scouting SCV from Tera moving down the ramp of her natural base now, making its way across the map. And he's going to arrive at Hadoken's base in just a moment. And what's she going to be able to see? A gateway, a single gas going up, and most certainly in just a bit the Cybercore to follow, and maybe that second gas. There's a lot that the Terran player can scout before the Cybercore is finished, because the Stalker isn't quite out yet. And without the Stalker, there really isn't quite a way for the Protoss player to deny that the Terran player that scouting information, because the Zealot just moves so slow and is a melee unit and needs to get right up to the SCV to... Oh my god! And it looks like the probes decided to tase the SCV, and just as I was talking about how that scout is really difficult to deny, Hadoken denies the scout. So I think I may have jinxed that, but
well, he will be remembered.
he will be remembered. And it looks like Tera is just going to opt for that gasless play once again. We're 3 minutes in, 3 minutes 30 seconds, and still no refinery. So she most certainly is going to put down an expansion once she gets to 300 minerals or 400 minerals. She is stockpiling quite a bit. The meal coming down now, and Tera just has the beginning parts of her build order down, and that's really important. I mean, seconds could make huge differences in StarCraft 2 in terms of your build order, and I really like that Tera has, at least up until 20 food, her build order down square. And now, right when she gets 400 minerals, bam, the expansion does come down, so that's really good for her. And meanwhile, on Hadoken, we see that he gets that robo facility again, so he's going for the same play.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to see basically mirror matchups again. So it's really, once we hit that 10-minute mark and they have a choice of where they want to head down those tech paths, are we going to see more Colossus again, or are we going to see Banshees again? It's really the question. Because, like I said, if this leads to anything can happen.
Yep. And I do think he's going to get that Robo Bay after the facility finishes and go for that one-base Colossus, but I really hope he doesn't expand. And look at that, Tera, once again, doing the same thing. Earlier on, scouting around her base with the Marines, this time with 4.
Yeah, checking out to see if there's any proxy pylons, because especially against Protoss, just one missed pylon can mean the difference between winning and losing.
Yep, most certainly. I mean, they just give so much more options to the Protoss player in terms of mobility, reinforcing, and just having a stronger push in general. And there we do see the Robo Bay go down. I don't know if he started an Observer quite yet. It doesn't look like it. But the Protoss player is really adamant about this 3-gate Robo Colossus build, and I just don't think you have the economy to support it on a single base. But let's see if it pays off for him. Tera still only on Marines, adding on 2 more racks, and this is the standard way to follow a gasless expand. You get the double refinery, add on more barracks, and then when you have the gas too, you start teching up, looking for upgrades, getting that tech lab, and getting that factory. And Tera is playing this absolutely correctly.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that we can almost follow suit and just kind of goes for a turtle style and builds a vertical mass. But we're seeing the Twilight Council right now.
And that is a curious decision. I mean, before I said going 3-gate Robo with Colossus, your economy can't support that. But now Hadoken is going even further, and he says, well, since my economy can't support it, let's add more expenditures to this build. Let's put the Twilight Council down, and we have to get an upgrade out of that Twilight Council, or else its effectiveness is almost nothing. And it looks like the Observer is going to move across the map right when Tera is moving out with her Marines, so the Observer does see what's going on. But what does Hadoken have to defend right now? He only has 3 Zealots, and with good micro, Tera could eliminate those Zealots really quickly here. We'll just have to see a nice scan to check what Hadoken has, and Tera sees a lot of buildings. A more skilled player might see those buildings and think, well, he's gone for Colossus, he's gone for Twilight Council, he hasn't spent a lot of resources on units, and Tera's going to run up the ramp right now!
Instead of stepping away, but we have another 5 seconds until the Colossus is out.
And another triple warp in of Zealots, and I think that's going to be enough to defend against this Marine, and the Colossus does make it out, so Tera will have to back off, and actually, I really respect that push from Tera. I really like that, and I can't believe that this is even a Bronze League game I'm seeing, because that was actually exactly what you need to do. Pushing in like that not only gives you an opportunity to test your opponent's skill out in terms of, well, how well can you handle this pressure? Can I out-micro you? It puts that pressure on Hadoken, and it also gives you scouting information. For example, Tera saw that only Zealots were being created. Tera also saw that the Colossus popped out. Tera also scanned and saw the Twilight Council, so she has just a very clear idea of every single thing that Hadoken is doing, and now she's going to be able to make a very educated response towards the build that Hadoken has gone for.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about the choice of going for charge here. Looks like we may or may not see expansion, but we're seeing a lot of a Colossus charge load. I don't think I've ever seen this build before.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think charge Zealots are really effective against bio units, especially before they have stim. Right now for Tera, stim upgrade isn't even finished, and charge is about to be complete. If Hadoken keys into this and thinks that, okay, well, I got charge, here's my timing, I'm going to go push now, this could very well end the game for Tera. I mean, look at the food count right now, 66 supply to 59. Hadoken is not quite behind in units just yet. The economy advantage has not kicked in for Tera. She's opting to go for tech labs, going for upgrades, going for starports. She's not actually getting units, so she doesn't actually have a stronger army quite yet. Her timing is not, hasn't hit quite yet, and Hadoken has a chance to go for a big push and end the game right now.
I'm curious to see how these 2 bunkers here, I think, are going to be the real difference if these 2 armies are to meet.
Yeah, Definitely, definitely. And now 2 Colossus for Hadoken. Again, the Thermal Lance upgrade is really late, but he might not want to wait for that because he has a strong timing with the charge lot. Siege upgrade just finishing, and now Tera does have those siege tanks, and that's going to do really well against the Zealots. And this push is looking more and more grim for Hadoken. The longer he waits, the worse his chances are of actually winning. And Tera sets up that siege tank in a nice spot. It might get sniped by the Colossus, but let's see how this push will work out. A single Marine going to scout. Unfortunately, he doesn't realize the demise that he is. Oh my god, and actually he survives and his friend in the back gets killed. Ironic, isn't that?
Run that one by.
And here comes a big push. The Zealots move right up the ramp. There's a charge upgrade, killing the tank almost immediately. Tanks in the back, not sieged up. And it looks like the units do finally make it into the bunkers. And here comes the attack move from the Zealots. A lot of the Zealots are eliminated. Only the Colossus remain. There's a repair by the SCVs. And very good control by Tera will end up eliminating the Protoss army. And this is looking to be a really bad situation for Hadoken. He's left on one base. He just lost his army. His timing did not work out. And Tera has a lot of workers still remaining. And still a lot of units. 2 siege tanks remaining from that fight. Has the infrastructure and has the upgrades going for her. She's just gotten away with so much tech, with so much economy, that she's so far ahead right now. Hadoken really needs to think of something different to come back in this game.
Definitely so. You know, what's interesting is that we're roughly the same in the Harvester account, with Tera just not taking the lead. But with those mules, she's really going to be able to power ahead.
Yep, with double orbitals and the meals, as long as Tera is keeping up with her macro, which she seems to be doing okay with. A lot of energy on her natural expansion, but maybe she wants to save some for scans just in case, because she did see that Twilight Council, and we do see a Dark Shrine coming down from Hadoken, so that is a possibility right now. That Dark Templar will ruin Tera's day, but she does have those orbital commands with scans.
Definitely, and full energy, we're going to just be able to shut that down quite well.
And finally, that Marine does die. But it looks like Hadoken's going to opt to retreat and expand behind this. This is a risky play. Tera has a timing where she can win the game right now. But does she recognize that?
You know, I feel Tera is playing a very conservative manner. She's going to wait until she gets up to around 150 food, is my guess. Just because she likes playing this more passive style.
Definitely seems that way. Definitely seems that way, and that would be the safer way to play. But the longer you drag out the game, there's also the more chances of you throwing it at the same time. You know, you say you want to play safe, but that might just be giving your opponent an opportunity to come back. And the fact that Hadoken has constructed his natural expansion with no pressure from Tera is a key defining moment. Just a key example of that. Right now, Hadoken shouldn't have been able to get his natural up, but he's gotten away with it for free. And now his Dark Shrine is completed, and maybe Dark Templar will be warping in really soon. And I still see no engineering bay and no missile turrets up for Tera at this point in time. She could risk losing a lot of SCVs right about now.
Well done by Tera there. She was able to spot the observer that was following the medevac.
Uh-oh, and a little bit of BM here. Tera getting a little hype right now. Also getting a little bit supply blocked, maybe due to that hype. But I really am still waiting for those Dark Templar. And here we go, 4 Dark Templar warping in. Let's see how much damage they'll do. He's sending one. Hadoken's sending 1 Dark Templar across the map. Just wants to see what's outside his base. Smart move, but he needs to make these Dark Templar effective very soon, because as soon as Tera realizes that a Dark Shrine is out, she will start making some missile turrets. She will start saving those scans.
But let's talk about the utility of this. With the charge upgrade combined with these couple of Colossus and Dark Thunder to make Archons, we're going to see a very, very powerful army come out.
Yeah, oh, and she scans, and she actually misses. And the Dark Templar actually gets away, and that's really bad because, oh, now we see a missile turret coming up. Tera still has energy on the orbital command for 1 more scan, so that's going to kill off this Dark Templar in the natural base. 2 SCVs already killed by Hadoken, and Hadoken looks like he has trouble finding a target with his Dark Templar. He really needs to make this effective right now, but not able to execute it just as well as he would like. The Dark Templar at the natural red doing a lot of damage, 4 kills now, and finally that missile turret does get completed, and I just can't help but feel like that was such a missed opportunity for Hadoken. He could have done a lot of damage with these Dark Templar, but just kind of bungled up the execution of that harass there.
Yes, yeah, and you know, because for all we know, this could be Hadoken's first tournament experience, so nerves could be playing a lot into that.
Definitely. And Tera's now going to float down to the third expansion there. Tera buildings can fly. She will float that slowly over, and Tera is looking to be in a commanding lead right now. 130 food, 20 more food, and we can see if your prediction is correct. Sound good? And I'm
hoping so.
And it looks like we have a few drop frames, but nothing near as bad as previously. But let's go ahead and see what Tera decides to do with this third base, whether she wants a planetary fortress or another orbital command.
Dark Templar coming in though to the third, taking out the SCVs for the one missile turret.
And that's really good. You really want to deny this expansion. And now Tera's going to move her whole army over, and this is the kind of play that leaves you open for, oh my god, that leaves you open for multi-pronged harass right now when you move your whole army to deal with one Dark Templar. If Hadoken had positioned his army close by, he could be taking out units in the main right now, or in the natural I should say, and then just backing off when the units at the third base come swinging back.
So now we see Tera rallying her SCVs out into the middle of the map, very standard for right around this time.
Yep, it's party time for the SCVs. They're ready to go out. They're ready to have fun. They worked for long enough. So
we're going to go chill out here in the middle of the map at this point.
They're now lining up. 4 SCVs join the fray. And I like how they turn one way and then turn the other way.
So also, Hadoken now, as I was talking about earlier, is going for this really great unit composition. He's going to have 3 Archons out, 3 Colossus, and a whole bunch of Chargelets. This is the kind of army that could easily move through bio.
Yep.
Unless it's able to be kited properly.
And the other thing about this army is that 1-1 upgrade is finishing for Hadoken, and 1-1 Zealots against 0-0 Marines are really, really strong. Combined with that Archon doing the AoE damage they need, plus the Colossus is just going to rip through Tera's army at this point in time, and I don't know if she realizes just how much trouble she's in just a bit. She probably feels pretty comfortable due to continually winning the confrontation, but she's giving Hadoken space to come back. And that is why playing too passively can mean the end of your game, the end of the game, because you give your opponent the chance to come back and build such a strong composition like this. Tera has not tech switched into anything like Ghost, has not tech switched into any huge macro play. She's just sticking on her 2 base production facilities, and now at 185 food, but look at Hadoken close, catching up very close to at 160, and even more Archons being morphed in right now. And this is looking more and more dangerous, and now finally Stalker's added into the mix, and slowly Hadoken's army is looking more and more like a powerhouse Protoss army you would see in any higher level game.
This would be very interesting. I think it's going to all come down to the engagement. How well will Tera be able to kite away this army?
And here's the interesting thing. For Protoss, you really want to use hotkeys to control your army because the Stalkers will get in front of the Zealots, weakening their effectiveness here. But we see that Hadoken actually has no hotkeys set up right now, and I really think that's a big misstep because he really wants the Zealots and the Archons in the front with the Stalkers in the back. But let's see how this will work going up the choke. I just have a feeling that Hadoken is going to move up the choke and give himself a smaller concave. But let's go and take a look. Here comes Tera with a huge bio army. One Dark Templar is going to harass the Marines here, not getting any kills quite yet. But once again, that 1-1 upgrade is finished for Hadoken, so I would definitely give his army the edge here in this fight. If Tera pushes in, she could risk losing a lot right now. Let's see what happens.
We've got ground armor level 2 about to come up as well.
Yeah, and I just think Hadoken is looking really scary right now. Tera has given him an opportunity to come back, and look, Tera's been supply capped at 185 for so long. Hadoken's already caught up in the food supply. It's 179 to 185, and eventually they're going to hit the supply cap, and that's where the Protoss is really dangerous. The late game Protoss army is so strong against the Terran army, it's not even funny. But here comes the Protoss player, going to break down his own destructible rocks. All the Zealots use their charge upgrade, and now it is on cooldown, but it looks like some Zealots get a little hasty, moving in first. The Sea Shank's doing a lot of damage. Here comes the Stalkers in the back. Archon's now getting into the mix. Look at that split on the Marines, but a lot of Tera's units not participating in the fight right now. She split them up really well, but forgot to tell him to A-move, and look at the decimation. The Archon's doing so much damage. Colossus getting a lot of action in the back with the thermal lance, and here comes Tera's army just getting eliminated. Oh, Pip!
Oh no, don't group them.
She loses a lot of the medevacs. Every single unit gets destroyed. And Tera, through that game, she just dropped it like a rock in the ocean. And
like we were talking about earlier, by letting that go on, you're giving Hadoken a chance to come back.
And that chance, it was. Tera just sank like the Titanic 2 times over. She sank so fast. And the siege tank gets eliminated. It was kind of lonely anyways. Again, the SCVs just want to party, but now they're getting lasered and tased. The police have shut down their party. And one more.
Full brutality fashion.
Full police brutality at its finest right now. And the 4th base of Tera now in danger. The 3rd base about to be taken over by this Archon Stalker Colossus composition. And this is just really strong. I don't even think there's any way that Tera can muster up enough units to handle this Archon Stalker Colossus composition. Look at that. The reinforcing units of Tera just immediately wiped out. And, you know, previously I said Hadoken had a problem with his army composition. He had too many Stalkers and not enough Zealots. This game we saw him just go for a ton of Zealots, so many Zealots, getting a few Archons, and then going into his Stalkers, and that is exactly what you need to do. That is exactly how you need to build the Protoss composition, and that won him the game.
Definitely so. You know, I do like Tera's ability to turtle up, but I think she also needs to be doing something in that meantime. Perhaps drops, trying to poke in and see exactly what the opponent's army composition is. Alright, so we're going to see what we're going to have for Game 3.
Yeah, and definitely the idea of being aggressive in terms of getting an idea of what your opponent is doing, forcing him to move his units around, forcing him to just keep revealing what he's trying to do. In the beginning of the game, Tera moved up with that small batch of Marines, and I really like that play for that reason. However, she did not continue to do that, and ended up getting surprised by the Colossus Archon composition.
Alright, Arthur, it's on you for map creation.
She wants a small 1v1 map, so I'm gonna...
Steps of War, is that what we're doing now?
Steps of War sounds solid to me. I mean, would you consider Metalopolis small or Shakuras? I mean...
I would probably not consider those as small. If we're looking at the latter map pool...
I mean, I have the map pool right here, and there aren't that many small maps.
Yeah, we're probably going to have to go with that. Is she looking for a 2-player or a 4-player map is the big question.
I have no idea. I don't know what 1v1 means, so...
Well, let's have a quick look at the map. Well, hang on just 1 second.
So, I'm going to go ahead and look at this map preference. Yeah.
You know, Core Hall might be a good option.
Core Hall? You think so?
Probably looking at the smallest, and it's a 2-player.
Right. Core Hall is pretty small. Alright, so we will be playing Core Hall. We're going to be jumping into the final game in this best-of-3 series between Tera and Hadoken. Tera, you know, looking really strong in the first game, took it pretty convincingly, but Hadoken in the second game built a really strong late-game composition and ended up taking the victory over Tera. It's all up in the air now.
Yeah, and you know, in that last engagement, we also saw a good third of the army not even involved whatsoever, a stem away from the battle. So, it was a basic misclick, but I mean, that I think it could cost a lot of that engagement. I think it could have gone maybe even towards her way if she had engaged with all her units.
Yep, definitely. I mean, the engagement is so important in StarCraft 2. You really want to make sure that you have the highest possible chance of eliminating your opponent, especially when you're up against a composition that is slated in your opponent's favor. You really need a super good engagement to be as cost-effective as you can be. So here we have the players situated here. I'm going to ask if they are ready. And we're going to be flying into the final match between these few players. These two players here. Tera seems like she's a bit preoccupied. Just waiting on her right now. And I think, you know, both these players seem to have holes in their game that that each player can play against. You know, Hadoken was a little too aggressive in the early game, and Tera's passive style really helped her out in that. In the second game, Tera was way too passive, and Hadoken's risky playstyle paid off for him.
Definitely. I'm really curious to see how, now that these players have gotten a chance to play against each other and really know how each other plays, how this will change their own in-game decisions. You know, at this point, will Tera go ahead and be more aggressive? Will Hadoken play more turtle? I'm really interested to see.
Yeah. Okay, so flying into Core Hall Compound, the third map between Tera and Hadoken. Terran versus Protoss. Let's see if these two players have learned something about the opponent, if they have a strategy they can utilize to defeat their opposition. So we have the red Terran player Tera at the bottom left of the map, and we have the pink Protoss player Hadoken at the top right. As I think they're probably gonna go for the same exact opener. I mean, I feel like they're comfortable doing that. They don't really have a reason to change. They've both taken games off each other with the same build order. But then again, this could be the time you want to decide to throw a wrench in the system and just change it up a little bit. Throw out some cheese.
Definitely.
Throw out some cheese and, you know, knock your opponent off guard.
You know, it would be interesting. I feel like there is a lot of cheese at these lower levels, so I'm actually surprised we haven't seen any proxy 2 racks or proxy 2 gates. I'm really surprised we haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, and it really seems to be. It really seems like these players are trying to play the game smartly, are trying to play the long game, the macro game, not really rely on super risky builds. Though Hadoken, I mean, he did take a risk in the last game, but I mean, he didn't really have that many options. So I really respect that risk that Hadoken took. I mean, he was like, well, I'm so behind, I have to find some way back. I'm gonna take my natural now, and he did, and it paid off.
Definitely, definitely. You know, at the same time, though, I feel like lower-level players are really comfortable with their builds. It's very hard to stray away into another one, so I feel like we're going to see a lot of the same thing this time.
Yep, and it looks like Gateway and Gas for the Protoss player. Meanwhile, for the Terran player, Barracks about to finish. No gas just yet, so highly likely that Tera's going for that gasless expand again.
Definitely, definitely. And we're going to see... If we see an early second gas go begin from Hadoken, we're going to probably see the same build as well.
Yep.
You know, and for Hadoken, I think it would be smart to follow the same plan. I mean, it worked for him in the second game. He adapted his gameplay from the first game into the second game. It worked for him, so I think he's going to stick with it.
Yep. Continuing to use those zealots, getting that charge upgrade, and looking for a timing push. Didn't work out for him when he attacked into the bunkers, but he can just slowly adjust his game to that fact. And now he adds on the Cyber Core as on the Assimilator. So, again, these two players just doing the exact same thing.
Now, this is interesting, though. The fact that Tera is hiding this SCV in the natural. What exactly is she waiting for at this point, do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, I think she's done that in every single game that we've seen. I think she just kind of forgets about it and eventually gets killed when Hadoken expands. And, you know, that's actually a really big blunder. There's a lot that your initial SCV can do in terms of just the fact that it's out in the map in a good position. I mean, you can constantly bounce in and out of your Protoss opponent's base, trying to see when they get the Stalker, if they get the Stalker, if they're going for that Robo, because right now, if that SCV went into Hadoken's base, the SCV would be able to scout the Robo, and there's no Stalker coming out in time. The SCV would also see where those kernel boosts are being utilized there, being placed on the Nexus rather than on the Warp Gate, but now being divided between the two. And it really seems like there's a lot of information that Tera could obtain with this SCV, just not taking that opportunity. Now the natural expansion being set up by Tera. Double gas, standard transition out of a gasless expand, and no doubt going to see 2 more racks being added on very soon.
Definitely. I think we're going to see that immediate turtle left over. We're going to see this expansion go down. We're going to see the 2 bunkers. We're going to see the heavy, heavy turtle style in the Marauder. Now, what I would like to see, though, from Tera is those earlier medevacs. I think having earlier medevacs would just open up her choices in this early to mid-game.
Yeah, earlier medevacs would be really strong. It means that she has more space to utilize stim, she has more space to be aggressive because those units will heal up the health, and the medevacs also provide the mobility of going up past cliffs away from the ramp, and that means that you can drop the Protoss opponent's base. That means you can get into the mineral line, really take down a lot of probes, and hamper the Protoss' economy and ability to remax their army and continue upgrading and teching. And that's really important in StarCraft 2. You really need to hamper the opponent's economy because it's really about resource management and managing how you spend those gas and minerals. And it looks like Hadoken's going to make warp gates right now. He's got the Colossus tech on the way, and the Robo facility, no expansion in sight.
Definitely, we're seeing basically a mirror of the previous game.
Yep, and I wonder if Hadoken's going to go for one base push again. I think he missed his timing just by a little bit, and if he executes better, if he executes that timing better, he could maybe take a win off Tera. But I don't know if Hadoken realizes at what spots he needs to execute his push better. I mean, in terms of when he pushes out, when he gets his units across the map, when that Twilight Council goes down, when that Thermal Lance goes down, and how many units he needs to have by that time. We'll have to see how well Hadoken executes that.
You know, now here's the interesting thing about Hadoken. Well, I've noticed in all three of the games he's held a Harvester lead. Although he didn't have a base lead, he's always held a Harvester lead over Tera.
Yeah, and Tera, good scan from Tera, gets to see the Twilight Council, gets to see the Robo Facility, and that's a good point you bring up. And keeping up with your macro is so important. Despite the fact that Tera has the expansion, Hadoken is able to keep up relatively well. You see that the mineral income is not too far apart, though Tera does have meals and the extra mineral patches to get more ideal saturation. Hadoken isn't that far behind. In fact, he is ahead in terms of supply, and Tera is even getting supply blocked a bit, and Hadoken's actually going to get supply blocked in a bit here too. But you know, in terms of these two players, their macro is keeping up neck and neck, despite the fact that Tera expanded first.
Alright, we're going to see Blink started and cancelled.
And he's going to get that charge.
Begins. Yes.
Good choice. Better that you find that earlier on, rather than wait for the upgrade to nearly finish and then have to cancel that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we got the earlier thermal lance coming out, so he's learning from his earlier mistakes.
Uh-oh. This observer is about to die. Oh no, Hadoken, great presence of mind, moves the observer away from the missile turret. Very nicely done. And he's going to be able to scout that tech lab, researching the stim upgrade. And Tera now finally getting that factory, has 2 reactors on her barracks, has 1 tech lab, going to be pumping out a single marauder and 4 marines at a time. That seems to be a pretty solid composition right now. But Thermal Lance is a lot earlier for Hadoken, and look at the adjustments Hadoken is making. Every single game, he's been adjusting a little bit. In the first game, he had too many Stalkers, he made a few more Zealots. And in the second game, he didn't have Thermal Lance when he needed it, and now he's getting that early, and you can see that Charge and Thermal Lance are about to finish at the same time, and if that's not timing, I don't know what is, Douglas. And I really think that Hadoken should capitalize on this and go for a push right when that charge finishes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, even though with these 2 bunkers, though, I think he's going to need some sort of a mortal in order to break through that. But it'll be interesting to see, because once again, it'll come down to those bunkers and their ability to be repaired. Yeah,
and really, Hadoken is either going to need, as you said, Immortals or a lot of Zealots and Sentries with that Guardian Shell, because Zealots already have that initial 1 armor. The Guardian Shell is going to further reduce the Marine damage by 2, reducing the damage by 3, and if you go ahead and click the Marine, it does 6 damage a shot, and so all of a sudden from 6 damage you cut it down to 3 per shot, and that's a 50% decrease in the Marine DPS there, and so that's going to make the Zealots a lot stronger in terms of being able to soak up a lot of damage and get around those bunkers and do a lot of damage. Uh-oh, and here comes Hadoken going for a big timing. Marine gets fried, and here comes the deadly Protoss army moving across the map right now.
This is going to be strong but the thing is, though, I think this is going to hit just as 1-1 is finishing for Tera, as well as combat shields. So, you know, it could be strong, but I think that Tera's timing with her own upgrades is going to hit just as this push reaches her front door.
Yeah, and that's going to be really key here. Those upgrades are going to do really good for Tera, especially that combat shield and the fact that she got the +1 attack, further increasing her marine damage, kind of looking to do a little more damage to those Zealots than initially planned. But here's the thing, Hadoken, you know, he usually has that forward pylon, but this time he doesn't have that set up, and so that's going to delay the timing of his push, ensure that that +1 armor upgrade completes, and now that siege upgrade is about to finish too, but I still see no siege tanks on the map for Tera, and I think that's a huge blunder. If you're going to get that siege upgrade, you want those tanks, and Tera, back to that 3 starport build, no doubt going to get those Banshees on them, going to get the triple tech lab, but it could be deadly if she goes for that, because that could mean that this timing push would be that much stronger, that those resources going into the starports, going into the tech labs, could be better spent on units to defend this push right now.
Alright, here we see the engagement about to begin.
The Protoss player moving in. He's going to warp in a few more units before jumping the gun. And I definitely think he should. And he's got double forge too. I actually disagree with this because your push is pretty all in at this point. You might as well not upgrade. Just spend those resources making your push a little stronger for the moment. And here comes a nice split. He's really aware that he wants to engage as best he can, and here come the Zealots! No Guardian Shield just yet, and that is a huge blunder. Look at those upgraded Marines just chewing through the Zealots, and they evaporate almost immediately. One bunker
forward. There it is.
And there's a stim. Target firing the Colossus. All three of these Colossus are in danger right now. And it looks like he will finally take down the last one. And a single Zealot remaining to tell the tale of what just happened to to every single one of those Protoss units. And it looks like Tera has held in convincing fashion. A lot of SCVs pulled just in case she needed to repair the bunker. But it looks like Tera is just going to be moving into these Zealots. Going to clean this push up. And Hadoken, being still on one base, is looking to be in a really bad spot, but we saw this situation in the last game and Hadoken found his way back into the game. Will Tera make the same mistake again? We'll have to see. An SCV rests on Hadoken's natural expansion, blocking it for the meanwhile, and it looks like...
Exactly. On that topic too, the previous game, we're seeing the Dark Shrine go up now, but we're seeing a few things that are going to be different. Now, in this game, Tera is taking earlier medevacs as well as faster 2-2, so I think she's in a much better position this game than she was previous.
And that probe going to work on the SCV, make sure it dies off so Hadoken can situate that expansion. He nearly kills his own probe, actually. That's actually really funny. And Hadoken's going to put down that Nexus. There we go, finally expanding. And it's funny because typically players will push out, hold their opponent in their base, and expand behind that. Hadoken's strategy is to push out, lose his whole army, and then expand behind that. Kind of a little bit of backwards thinking, but Tera's not doing anything about it. Again, Tera's allowing Hadoken a chance to buy back into this game.
She definitely is. Now with the third bunker going up as well, she's really taking that turtle method.
Third base now landed, and all the meals mining the mineral patches, and I really like how she actually spread out her meals. Not a lot of players do that.
See, once again, we're looking at this harvester count, and Hadoken is keeping even with Tera. And so I think this is really, really interesting, the fact that Tera is almost relying on mules to keep an economic advantage.
Yeah, she's got so many orbital commands right now, and one more on the way. And that's really going to boost her mineral count up, but you know, really, she needs to rely on a few more SCVs in the mid to late game.
Arthur, let's talk about these 9 medevacs on the field. We're going to have individual medevacs for each Marine out there soon.
Oh my gosh, how many Marines are there? There's like...
Oh, but hold on, we have 2 DTs coming into the third right now. This is going to be huge.
Oh, another missile turret on the way. A lot of the meals have had their share of minerals and are about to leave this world, but the Dark Templar are sending them back a little earlier, and that is huge damage right now. A lot of the worker count for Tera has been knocked to shambles, and the fact that she saved so much energy for those meals and had their mining interrupted means that that's a lot of lost income for Tera.
Definitely. Yeah, she had no energy for any scans. It was just very, very unfortunate timing for Tera.
And this is the kind of use that this is the kind of damage that the Dark Templar needs to do. Completely stopping the mining of the third base, and now a stare down between Tera's Marines and that Dark Templar. They're literally just looking at each other. Oh my god, this is so tense. The Hellions are coming in to burn the Dark Templar! Or not. They're just gonna talk for a bit.
You know, there's a Raven right there, so all she has to do is move that a little bit.
Oh, and there he goes. That Dark Templar was a brave man.
Indeed.
He did not turn and run. He waited.
He held fast his mission.
I will block the expansion till the end of my life. And his life ended.
We're seeing the kind of same transition we saw last game. We're looking at Charge Lot, 3 Colossus, and I would not be surprised if we start to see some more Archons here soon.
Yep, he wants to get a few sentries out, and that's okay, but really I think his gas should go to Archons at this point, because honestly, like, it's kind of cheesy, but that's what he needs to do to get back in. Now, on the other hand, Tera is doing something a little differently now. Before, we said, you know, she turtled up, she didn't have Ghost, she didn't have higher tech, but now look at her upgrades. She's going for that 3-3 upgrade, she's got a ton more medevacs coming out, and that's really going to make a huge difference in the fight. Again, those upgrades in the last fight for Hadoken, he had the advantage at about a 2-2 upgrade advantage right now. We see Hadoken at a 2-1 upgrade situation, and 2-2 for the Terran players, so the Protoss players even right now. Oh, nobody to shoot up, actually. That's actually really funny. The medevacs just flew completely over the Protoss army and nothing happened. And here comes the Vikings, doing a lot of damage to the Colossus. Where are the Stalkers? And it looks like a lot of Colossus for free. I really think Tera should back up right now. Just let the Vikings do the work. But here comes a huge surround by the Zealots. Great surface area and a little bit of a miss micro. But all of Tera's units get eliminated. Huge damage taken. All the medevacs are being tickled by the sentries, tickled to death. Oh no, the medevacs have so much energy in them, and Tera has just given up all hope, has just abandoned the medevacs. The medevacs are trying to find out where they're supposed to go, but right now they're just being zapped in the back. Oh my god, and one more medevac goes down, and a third one does go down, and this is really poor. and this is really why you need just a few stalkers to really hunt down your opponent's mistakes like this when they send medevacs flying over your army, and that was a huge loss by Tera right there. Huge loss. And
she's coming out of it with these medevacs, though, which will be important for keeping up her bio army. Had she lost these medevacs, she'd be in a much worse position. But
yeah.
She definitely, at this point, I think it's going to have to do something to get back into this game.
And I'm really worried for Tera right now because she hasn't added on that many more barracks, and she's not macroing out of them. She's just macroing out of her starports right now. She has a huge army of medevacs. She has a huge count of Vikings. But what are you going to do about all those zealots? What are you going to do about all the stalkers, the zealots, and maybe even archons, which I really think is a key thing that the Protoss player needs to really secure his win at this point. The Protoss player has managed to get his third base up. He's managed to hold his natural right now. All he needs to do is transfer some workers. Oh my god, and he does. All he needs to do is split the workers evenly between his natural, which is looking really lonely. And he's going to be in a good position right now. Now warping in a few Dark Templar. Wants to make those into Archons, but not right here. Not right now. Oh, the drop moves over the Stalkers, and here comes the Stalkers. Going to kill 2 medevacs instantly, and the units aren't being dropped off. Hellions alone, feeling very naked right now. The scan on top of the Dark Templar, but there's only one of them at this point, and the Vikings doing not very much. Going to take down that Colossus for free, but now all the Vikings are down, and Tera just does not care. She degaffs. And she's moving the medevacs over to the third base of Hadoken right now. Going to drop all the units on the third base. And we are in a base trade situation. And I don't know how this happened. I don't know why this is happening. But in Bronze League, anything can happen. And Tank on the high ground doing a lot of damage to the Archon. And it looks like Hadouken's going to throw away all his army. Here comes a Doom Drop. And this is the best possible outcome for Tera. And all the units...
She needs to scan on it ASAP.
Oh my god, the game is just so back and forth right now. Tera looked like she was about to win. Threw away all her bio units to the Colossus army of Hadoken. Now Hadoken throws away his whole Gateway army at the front steps of Tera's base, and Tera goes for a Doom Drop. The third base now lost for Hadoken, and now Tera is going to continue pushing in. There is a scan. She will take down the remaining DTs, and now Hadoken is at 45 supply to Tera's 117. Things are looking poor for Hadoken right now, but they have looked worse, and Hadoken has come back. This game is not over yet. Anything can happen. That is the motto of the day, and this Dark Templar is just picking his food at this point. Hadoken with a 1-kill Dark Templar walking into the scan. Don't do it. Best friends forever. Best friends forever, and Tera is just gonna ignore that Dark Templar and now gonna drop over the probes, and the cloud descends as the probes tremble in fear as they only have their Tages to defend themselves, and the Zealots come zooming in trying to kill the Marines. Medevac's doing a lot of the healing, and Tera's just gonna decide to, nah, I'm just gonna pick up and go to your main now, and look, these Zealots are falling blindly. Oh, hit their face into the wall. Decides, oh, I can't climb the wall after all. Oh my god! The Stalkers are gonna start down! No! Drop your units! You're gonna lose a lot of your units! And it looks like Tera's going to look for a way out of the base through the bottom. The Stalkers continuing to chase down the medevac. One more medevac will be lost. Fortunately, Tera has just so many medevacs that it doesn't matter. You don't know which one the units are in. It's like a magic trick. You know, when they put the cups down and they move the cups around and you got to pick which one the rubber ball is in. In this case, you just got to find the Marines. And you don't pick up the cups, you destroy the cups. And
yeah, these medevacs don't exactly fly slow when they're loaded up.
And it looks like Tera's gonna get out of there for free. Vikings assisting the medevacs here.
Look at this army back home already. We've already got a fully rematch, or not a rematch, but just a fully replenished bio army ready to go. With these medevacs back at home, it's able to give the support that this bio army needs.
And it looks like Hadoken finally realizes the errors of his ways, and now is going for Colossus Archon. A little too late, I think. I mean, Hadoken really needed to keep his third base. He really needs to keep up his economy. More Zealots being warped in. And he does find that one Dark Templar that made friends with the Terrans. And he's going to ask that Dark Templar, what do you know about the Terrans? And he's going to morph him into an Archon, share that knowledge with his fellow Dark Templar. And let's see if this Archon Colossus Zealot composition will be enough to take down Tera's army. It's looking like a kind of uncomfortable situation for Hadoken. Tera is doubling the food supply, and despite the fact that this composition is really cost effective, I think the upgrades and the supply count is just not in favor of Hadoken, and that's going to cost him the game right now. Here comes a big push of Tera. A lot of Marines in that mix, clubbed together for ideal splash damage. Oh, she's going to load up her units! Oh my god, they're going to trade spots. Tera's going to walk into the main. Oh, these Marines walk into the wall. Not quite sure why they did that, but here comes a super drop. Oh, this is really bad. She's splitting up her max supply army. Colossus on the high ground being sniped. Vikings doing a lot of damage, and it looks like the units of Hadoken just get eliminated. Nice force field on the ramp, but too little, too late, and Tera does take the advantage. GG is called, and that will put Tera 2-1 against Hadoken in a very close, nail-biting series. Tera does take the advantage, and finally defeats Hadoken. After a hugely passive game. I cannot believe what we just saw, Douglas.
This was definitely crazy. You know, anything does happen, but I just want to say I feel like this is a very adaptive best of 3. I feel like we saw these players adapt each other based on their previous tactics and kind of just play out the meta based on what they expected them to go and adapted their own playstyle to it.
Yep, definitely, for sure. And you know, Tera just stuck with her guns, said, I want a gasless expand, I want to go bio medevac Viking, and I just want to play the macro game. Hadoken just saying, I want to do a 1 base timing push, and then I want to maybe make Archons and do a strong timing push. Unfortunately, Hadoken not quite up to snuff in terms of executing his strategy, and Tera ends up taking the game over him, and I definitely have to say that Tera turned out to be the better player in that series. So we'll get an update on what the next map we're going to spectate is. With that, sit tight for a second, and we'll be right back at the Gameclucks here at Linwood, Washington with more exciting StarCraft matches. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.